Welcome to From Nothing. We are going to learn about the working principles of a mobile phone charger and internal circuit. A mobile phone charger converts AC mains electricity into a stable 5-volt DC output for charging a cell phone. But how does such a small charger produce 5 volts DC from our 220 volts AC mains power supply? If your only concern is whether your phone reaches 100% after bedtime, feel free to skip this video. But if you're the type of person who can't stop wondering what's going on inside that little charger brick, then stick around. This channel is for the curious minds who always ask how things work and why they work. Today, we're going to open the black box and uncover the engineering behind it. The traditional method of converting AC to DC is to use a linear transformer to step down the voltage to the desired level. The AC voltage is then converted into DC using a bridge rectifier. After that, a capacitor smooths the output, and finally a voltage regulator provides the exact DC voltage required. However, the problem with these types of power supplies is that although they can successfully convert AC into the required DC voltage, their efficiency is relatively low. They waste a significant amount of energy as heat. In addition, they are bulky and heavy, making them unsuitable for portable travel chargers. One of the main reasons for their large size is the transformer used inside them. Traditional linear power supplies require a large and heavy transformer. In contrast, a mobile phone charger contains a much smaller transformer. So how is this achieved? To understand this, we need to look at Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. This law states that a changing magnetic flux passing through a coil of wire induces a voltage in that coil. For a transformer, the RMS value of the induced voltage depends on several factors, including the supply frequency, the number of turns in the winding, the cross-sectional area of the core, and the peak magnetic flux density. I am not going to explain the boring mathematics in depth here. Simply put, the voltage induced in a transformer winding is proportional to the frequency, the number of turns, and the core area. Traditional linear transformers operate at the mains frequency, which is typically between 50 and 60 Hertz depending on the region. To achieve maximum power output and efficiency at such low frequencies, these transformers require a larger magnetic core and a greater number of turns in their windings. As a result, the transformer becomes large and heavy. But there is a solution. If we can somehow increase the frequency of the current, we can dramatically reduce the required core size and the number of winding turns. This allows us to build a much smaller transformer while still transferring the same amount of power. Power supplies that use this principle are called switch-mode power supplies, or SMPS. Let's see how an SMPS works. Initially, the 230-volt AC input from the mains is fed into an input rectifier and filter circuit. This stage converts the AC voltage into rippled DC. The unregulated DC output is then supplied to a power transistor that acts as a high-frequency switch. This transistor converts the DC into a very high-frequency square wave. The high-frequency signal is then applied to a flyback transformer, which steps the voltage down to a much lower level, typically around 5 volts. At this point, you may wonder how a transformer can step down DC voltage. Remember that this is not pure DC. The transistor is continuously switching the voltage on and off at a very high frequency, creating a changing magnetic field that allows the transformer to operate. The low voltage output from the transformer is then fed into an output filter circuit. This filter removes unwanted residual signals and smooths the output. Finally, a feedback circuit continuously monitors the output voltage and regulates it to maintain a stable DC supply. Let's explore in details like a curious engineer. The first step is rectification. A diode bridge rectifier converts the AC mains voltage into pulsating DC. It is important to note that this stage does not reduce the voltage. In fact, the peak voltage after rectification is higher than the RMS AC input voltage. The heart of the SMPS is the high-frequency generator. This circuit operates at a frequency much higher than the mains frequency and is typically built around a transistor-based oscillator. The transistor T1 is connected to the primary winding of a small transformer. A resistor connected to the base of T1 partially turns it on, allowing a small current to flow from collector to emitter. A small secondary winding, called S1, is placed close to the primary winding. The changing current in the primary induces a small voltage in S1. This induced voltage passes through the timing capacitor C1 and further drives the base of T1, turning it fully on. As a result, a much larger current flows through the primary winding. The increased current in the primary winding induces a high voltage in another secondary winding, S2. Another transistor, T2, is connected to the circuit. When T1 is at partially on state, T2 remains off. But after T1 is fully on, the current from emitter of T1 flows to the base of T2, and then T2 turns on. This pulls the base of T1 down to 0 volts, switching T1 off. With T1 turned off, current no longer flows through T1 to the base of T2. As a result, the base voltage of T2 falls, causing T2 to turn off as well. Once T2 turns off, the resistor connected to the base of T1 again partially turns it on, allowing a small current to flow from collector to emitter. The entire process then repeats continuously. Let's look at it more clearly. Pay attention to the voltage waveform across the primary winding. Because of this continuous switching action between T1 and T2, the voltage across the primary winding rises and falls rapidly. This increases the operating frequency of the transformer to approximately 100 kHz. Next, let's move on to the final stages of the circuit. The transformer steps down the high-frequency voltage to the desired lower level. The output filter then smooths this signal by reducing voltage variations. Finally, we come to the feedback path. The feedback circuit mainly consists of a Zener diode and an optocoupler. If the output voltage rises above 5 volts, the Zener diode begins conducting current. This activates the optocoupler. The optocoupler then delivers current to the base of T2, turning T2 on. When T2 turns on, it switches T1 off. This reduces the current flowing through the primary winding of the transformer, which in turn reduces the output voltage. Through this continuous high-frequency switching process and feedback regulation, energy is transferred efficiently while maintaining a stable output voltage. This allows the higher DC voltage produced by the rectifier stage to be converted into the lower and accurately regulated DC voltage required for charging devices such as mobile phones. The switching action, combined with the feedback control mechanism, ensures that the output voltage remains stable even when the input voltage changes or the load varies. Because the circuit operates at high frequency, much smaller transformers and components can be used, making SMPS power supplies compact, lightweight, efficient, and suitable for a wide range of electronic devices and applications. After all, not all chargers are built the same. If you open different brands like Apple, Samsung, or other manufacturers, you'll notice variations in internal layout, component quality, and circuit design. Some are more compact, Some are more efficient, and some are designed with stricter safety and thermal control. But despite these differences, they all rely on the same core idea, the SMPS, switched mode power supply principle. That fundamental concept of rapidly switching, transforming, and regulating high voltage AC into stable low voltage DC is what makes every modern fast charger possible. If you've made it this far, I truly appreciate your time. This isn't just about a video or a charger. It's about curiosity, learning, and slowly building something from nothing with my own hands. If you believe in that kind of journey, then stay with me. Subscribe and watch as I try, fail, learn, and grow step by step until something real is built. Thanks for watching.